What it do, tube? It's Scotty. Back at you with another video. This is Scotty Says. And Scotty says, first of all, please like, share, subscribe. Now, I hope you watched the first volume of Scotty Says. 10 episodes in that first volume set. And we dealt with sports, Lakers and Rams and baseball. Oh my! But in this volume, volume 2, we're going to be dealing with another whole realm of topics. We are going to cover a more, let's say, serious set of subjects. We're going to talk about science and religion. We're going to talk about UFOs. We're going to talk about intermittent fasting and credit hacks to raise your credit score. Women and drone flights. We're going to talk about a lot of things over these next 10 videos. But today, the first episode in volume 2, we're going to have to deal with the issue that's been maybe weighing the most heavy on the world over the past year. Episode 1, coronavirus, the pandemic. Okay, full disclosure. I have been essentially a germaphobe for years now, way before coronavirus. And people laughed at me. Oh, they laughed at me. Because when I would be in a room and someone would sneeze, I would exit. You know, like the cartoon. I just couldn't do it. I had an anxiety that over time developed where I couldn't stay in an enclosed space with someone who was coughing and sneezing, because it had happened to me too many times where I would have been in that situation and I would remain there because either I was on the plane next to them, or because I was at work next to them, or because we were in some sort of, seminar or conference, and you stay there. And within a couple of days, I got it. Whatever they had. And who knows what they had. And see, people are never honest. See, the sickly. They always, don't worry, it's allergies. Don't worry, don't worry. It's just, pollen. But you're sneezing and hacking like you don't have a lot of time left, and I'm supposed to feel comforted by you, the sick person, telling me it's an allergy. Nah, I'm getting the hell out of there. Now, there were times, of course, where you'd be in situations where you can't escape. And it would create such an anxiety that I found I couldn't focus. I couldn't pay attention to what was being said, the speaker. All I could think about, because I would visualize, you see, that invisible cloud of germs, particles, bacteria, virus. Invisible to the naked eye, but I knew it was there because I just saw this rusty, dusty person over just a row or two over sneeze violently twice. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. And they're expelling something not good into the air. And it settles there. Now, it's in the air now, and you're in a little room, maybe a small auditorium. And that cloud is there. And for others, they're able to go on, or they don't think about it, or it's just part of life. But for me, I visualize the particles invisibly floating. I see them sort of in my mind's eye. And I can't concentrate on what the speaker's saying. All I'm thinking about is, by now, that cloud is probably getting closer to me. And eventually that cloud is going to settle over my head, and then I'm going to breathe in whatever it was that nasty so-and-so over there just spit out into the environment. And so before that can happen, what my mind tells me, being a germaphobe, get out of there. And that's what I would do. I'd scram, split, beat it. And people laughed at me. I'll give you another little tip. And I still see people do this to this day, despite the pandemic, and it blows my mind. I never grab the escalator rails in these public spaces, malls, etc. Never, 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 never. And yet, every time I go into one of these places, I see the people. Young men and women, not children, not elderly, adults. People who should have enough sense to know better and with enough balance to not need it. I see them grab both rails. Soon as they step onto the escalator, they grab and they grab. Double grab. These are the people who want to go back to shaking hands. No, I don't. I'm not interested in shaking your hand. No, thank you. You are a double escalator grabber. I saw an episode of something where they went to a public mall and they took one of those black lights, one of those DNA black lights, and they ran it up the rail of the escalator, and you could just see the virus just undulating, this writhing virus, bacteria. I said, never again. Well, I touch one of these. And what happens? This is the property of transference, folks. What happens is you go into that mall, you double grab the escalator rails, that virus on the rails already is now transferred to your hands. And then as soon as you come off the escalator, what do? You brush your nose, you grab your ear, something by your eye, you got a scratch. Transference. Whatever that worm was that you can't see has transferred from that rail to your hand, to your ear, nose, eye, etc. See, I knew years ago this is the kind of thing that can hurt you. Picking up these different bugs from these different people. And now, because the world is shrinking, people jump on planes. You hear from across the world in a few hours. Next day, overnight. Whatever you brought from there, now it's here. He gets off the plane there and goes here. And then they go there. And then the world is connected. And everybody's shaking hands and grabbing escalator rails all around the world. Shaking hands and grabbing escalator rails. No, thank you. Count me out. I don't want whatever it is you got on there. I don't want to breathe it. So when you sneeze, I got to go. And it's gotten me in trouble before. I'd like to connect. We need to speak with you. We noticed that sometimes you will abruptly leave the meeting, during important information being disseminated. And let me stop you there. I know exactly where you're going with this. And when someone is sickly and nasty and gets to expectorating, right, and whatnot, I cannot be forced to sit there and breathe that in. I have to get air. If I don't, I have anxiety about it. Well, it's important to information. Yeah, well, it's important that I'm not breathing in nasty. And now there's tension, I've gotten into these kinds of situations. And there are times when I just go through the anxiety, but not anymore. Because you know why? After all the laughing, he won't touch the elevator button. No, I use my elbow. Always, years I've been using the elbow to hit the walk button on the street or the elevator button. Yes, I've been doing that. I remember when I wore a mask into LA Fitness. This was at the very beginning, and everyone looked at me like, what are you doing? Are you taking it this seriously? Yes, I am. I remember asking a doctor, listen, no one is wearing a mask, but I've got them. Don't you think it's wise that I should probably wear it everywhere, even if no one is wearing it? You know what the doctor told me? Absolutely not. It's not going to be of any benefit to you or to anyone else, and there's really no purpose in it. Okay. Well, so we're all learning on the fly, things change, but I have to share the other thing. The other piece of full disclosure. I believe I got coronavirus in December of 2019. Now, we didn't hear about it until February of 2020, give or take, March. By March, it was a thing. But the end of December 2019, I got the worst, what I thought at the time was this rare, crazy flu, because I don't get sick because, as I've already explained to you, I take precaution to avoid the sickness that's in the air. I don't get flu shots every year, and I don't get the flu. How is that? Because I avoid all of that sickness in the air. I don't care to be around all the coughing and sneezing individuals. Yes, okay, perhaps I have become somewhat misanthropic. Okay, you got me there. But I mean, there's a trade-off for everything. I'll pay that price. Okay, that's fine. You know what? I don't get sick. Except December 2019, I did. And it wasn't just kind of a little sick, but it was like, what the hell is this sick? It was like, this is why I take all these precautions and avoid people and situations to avoid this kind of a sickness. And yet I had it, and it was bad. It was worse. It was one of the worst sicknesses I've ever had. And I racked my brain while I laid on my back for 8 days trying to figure out, where did I go wrong? What step did I loosen up on? Where was I careless? The symptoms, I had burning hot fever. And I didn't have a way to take my temperature at that point. But it was burning hot where I was sweating, and this is in December. I mean, it's not hot outside, but inside I was like on fire, peeling out of clothes, and the sheet was too hot. And as soon as I would drink water to cool down, the rigors would hit me. I would shiver, tremble with chills. I was like, what in the hell have I contracted here? So I would go from burning fever to almost violent chills. I had no taste. Things smelled odd. I had no energy. That was one of the worst things. No strength, no energy. Like, it was because it was that holiday period, I didn't have to be anywhere, and I was thankful for that, because if I had to drive somewhere, I couldn't have done it. I lost a good 10 pounds just like that in those 8 days. And there was sort of a hallucinogenic aspect to it, a psychological aspect to it. I experienced things, and let's just say I told Satan to get the hell away from me. I made it through, but it it was a traumatic enough of an experience that I'll never forget those days of being that sick. And 2 months later, I came to realize it was the classic symptoms of COVID-19. Except I got it early. And then I start backtracking and I kind of start to put together a little, oh, I think I know how this happened. But beyond that, I know that it's a serious thing. Now, the scenario is today, they said, no more. Don't worry about the mask now. You know, vaccines and everything. And, as far as I'm concerned, there are a lot of things that still are unknown, up in the air, questionable. So we'll see how it all plays out, how things progress. For example, one of the big questions is if you have in fact had COVID-19, are the antibodies that you produce commensurate to the vaccine? How long are you vaccinated for? Do you need a booster shot every 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? Likewise, if you do in fact contract the disease, how long do you have natural immunity from the antibodies because your body fought it off? Forever? For a year? See, all these things we don't know. So I will continue to monitor, to watch, and make assessments and judgments that I feel are in my best interest and proceed in that path. That's what's kept me safe this far along the way. And that's what I'll continue to do. But I just wanted to make this quick video to say to all of you who laughed at me because I've been a germaphobe, because I had these well before it was required, because I didn't touch the rails, or I preferred to fist bump, or not at all, because I left the room. I'm not going to ever go back to, you hear them all the time, let's go back to, you want to go back to that, to all that sneezing it? No. I was right. COVID-19 proved it. So, in this case, Scotty says, like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next video.